Have you ever noticed a quiet, heavy shadow standing just beside you? It is not a ghost from your past. It is the ghost of your future, the phantom of the person you were supposed to become. What if the thing you are desperately trying to hold on to is the very thing stealing your peace? Most people do not realize that we often mourn for things that never even happened. We grieve for the life we meticulously mapped out in our minds, the achievements we thought we would have secured by now, and the version of ourselves that was supposed to be stronger, faster, and infinitely more successful. If you have ever felt stuck, anxious, exhausted, or invisible looking at your real life and wondering why it does not match the brilliant picture in your head, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this pain forever. We live in a world that demands constant, relentless motion. We are taught early on that our worth is measured by our labor, our output, and our endless climbing toward a distant, shining peak. We exhaust ourselves trying to build a perfect life, believing that once we reach a certain milestone, we will finally earn our purpose. We believe that only then will we be allowed to rest. But here is the truth few people want to face. The tighter you hold on to the image of who you should be, the more you suffer. You replay your choices in the quiet hours of the night. You compare your quiet reality to the loud, curated successes of others. You feel a deep, lingering ache, a profound disconnection from your own existence because you are constantly judging your real life against an imaginary one. In Buddhist thought, this specific pain is deeply understood. It is rooted in attachment, not just attachment to physical possessions, but attachment to rigid ideas. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is that suffering arises when we cling to a fixed concept of self. We attach our entire identity to an illusion of the future. We suffer because we demand that reality bend to our expectations, rather than letting reality simply be. Imagine a man who spends his entire life trying to sculpt a flawless, magnificent statue out of ice. He chisels away every single day, obsessed with making it perfect, enduring the freezing cold, ignoring his bleeding hands. But the seasons change. The sun naturally rises. The ice inevitably begins to melt. Instead of enjoying the warmth of the sun and the beauty of the flowing water, he frantically tries to catch the melting ice in his bare hands, weeping bitterly over the loss of his creation. We are that man. We sculpt a rigid identity based on achievement, status, and control. When life naturally shifts, when a career path changes, when a relationship ends, when our youthful energy fades, we fight the melting ice. We feel we have failed, when in truth, the season has simply changed. Think about your own life. How much of your daily exhaustion comes from fighting the reality of where you are? How much of your anxiety is tied to defending a version of yourself that does not even exist? Ask yourself, is this constant pursuit bringing you peace, or is it feeding your fear? Pause, breathe, let that sink in. Observe the heavy expectation you carry, just for a moment, without judging it. Let the feeling of being behind rise, without making it your identity. You do not have to chase what is already leaving. You are allowed to stop carrying the weight of a life that was never truly yours to begin with. You are not powerless. Letting go of the person you were supposed to become does not mean you have failed. It means you are finally making space to exist. But dropping this heavy map is only the first step, because beneath every expectation is an illusion waiting to be understood. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of the phantom self. What if the person you feel you have failed to become was never real in the first place? Here is the truth that is so difficult to accept. The ideal version of you, the one who never makes mistakes, who has achieved every goal, who is completely secure and universally admired, is a ghost. It is a phantom self, crafted from the expectations of others, the pressures of society, and your own deepest insecurities. We carry this phantom around like a heavy, invisible shadow. We measure our real, breathing, messy lives against a perfectly polished illusion. And in this endless comparison, we always lose. You spend your days punishing yourself for not matching this phantom. When you look in the mirror, you do not see who is there. You see who is missing. You see the career milestone you did not reach, the relationship you could not save, the perfect financial stability you have not secured. You carry a silent, crushing sense of shame. You believe that if you had just worked harder, been a little smarter, or made fewer mistakes, you would finally inhabit that untouchable life. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this specific suffering comes from the illusion of a fixed, permanent self. We suffer because we believe there is a final version of me that we must build, protect, and defend. But life is not a construction site. It is a continuous, flowing river. The concept of impermanence reminds us that there is no static destination where we suddenly become complete. The phantom self you are mourning is nothing more than a collection of thoughts, attachments, and borrowed desires. It has no substance. Imagine a traveler wandering in a vast desert, desperately thirsty. In the distance, they see a shimmering lake, a beautiful, perfect oasis. They run toward it, exhausting their body, ignoring their aching legs, pushing past their physical limits. But no matter how fast they run, the oasis always stays just out of reach on the horizon. When they finally collapse in the sand, they realize it was never a lake at all. It was a mirage, created by the heat of the sun and the desperation of their own thirst. We do this every day. We run toward the mirage of the perfect career, the flawless family, the ultimate sense of arrival. We wake up feeling already behind. We push ourselves endlessly, terrified of being ordinary, terrified of being forgotten. We look at others and think they have reached the water, but the oasis they are projecting is a mirage too. No one has arrived, because there is nowhere to arrive to. Think about your own life. Whose dream are you actually chasing? What are you afraid will happen if you accept yourself exactly as you are right now, in this very moment, with all of your unresolved pieces? The next time your mind tells you that you are falling behind, pause, breathe. Look around the quiet room you are sitting in. Remind yourself that you are not a project to be completed. You are a living, breathing human being, experiencing a single moment in time. Stop trying to force the door open to a future that does not exist. You do not need to catch the mirage. You only need to feel the ground beneath your feet. But giving up the chase is terrifying when running is all you have ever known. And this is where we must look closer. Because the desire to become someone else is a hunger that can never be fed. 3. The endless hunger of becoming. What if the exhaustion you feel is not from doing too much, but from the relentless pressure of trying to be someone else? Here is the truth few people want to face. The desire to constantly improve can quietly turn into a prison. We live with an insatiable, quiet ache. You probably know this feeling well. You tell yourself that if you just finish this one project, if you secure that next promotion, or if you finally get the validation you crave, you will be at peace. But what happens when you get there? The relief lasts only a moment. Almost instantly, the finish line moves. You look around, and instead of peace, you feel a new anxiety. You begin comparing yourself again. The cycle restarts. You are exhausted because you are living in a perpetual state of not yet. In Buddhist thought, this continuous loop of dissatisfaction is deeply understood. It is the root of craving. It is the restless mind that constantly rejects the present moment, always believing that happiness exists somewhere in the future. Buddhism reminds us that the source of our deepest pain is not what we lack, but our refusal to accept what is. We believe that we must constantly become, entirely forgetting how to simply be. Imagine a raging fire burning in a dry forest. You want the fire to stop moving, to finally rest and be still. So, what do? You keep throwing dry branches into it. You throw in your achievements, your late nights at work, your exhausted efforts to please others. You believe that if you feed the fire enough, it will eventually satisfy its hunger and settle down. But the wood does not put out the fire. It only makes the flames burn hotter, faster, and more desperately. We throw our entire lives into this fire. We scroll endlessly through social media, absorbing the curated successes of others, feeling the burning heat of comparison. We stay at our desks long past sunset, sacrificing our quiet evenings, hoping to prove our worth to people who are too busy managing their own fires to notice. We measure our value by our productivity, terrified that if we stop moving, we will disappear. We forget that the fire of endless ambition, when left unchecked, will eventually burn the very soul it was supposed to warm. Think about your own life. What are you constantly throwing into the fire? What are you desperately hoping will finally be enough to make you feel whole? Is this endless striving bringing you peace, or is it feeding your fear? Pause, breathe. Observe the thought that you need to do more without following it. The next time you feel the familiar panic of falling behind, simply watch it. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Stop trying to feed the flames. Do your part, then release the outcome. You do not have to chase what is already burning you. Let the wood fall from your hands. Let the fire burn down to glowing embers, because true peace is not found by finally achieving everything you desire. It is found by realizing you no longer need to be full. But stepping away from the fire requires us to look somewhere else entirely, and this is where the next truth begins. 4. The sacredness of ordinary attention. What if the meaning you have been searching for was never at the top of the mountain, but in the quiet steps you ignored along the way? Here is the truth few people want to face. We have been conditioned to believe that ordinary means insignificant. You live your days waiting for the grand moments. You treat your present life as a waiting room, a mere stepping stone to the real life that will begin once you finally achieve your goals. You rush through your morning routine, distracted during conversations, thinking about the emails you need to send, the tasks you need to finish, the weekend you hope will bring relief. You are physically here, but mentally you are living 10 steps ahead. And because you are always looking past the present moment, life begins to feel empty, grey, and disconnected. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this emptiness is cured not by grand achievements, but by ordinary attention. Mindfulness is the practice of arriving fully, exactly where you are. In Buddhist thought, washing the dishes just to wash the dishes is a profound act. When we stop treating the present moment as an obstacle to overcome, we discover that the ordinary world is deeply sacred. Life is not found in the rare, explosive moments of success. It is found in the continuous, quiet hum of the present. Imagine a traveler walking through a magnificent, ancient forest. The trees are towering and ancient, the air is thick with the scent of pine, and the sunlight filters beautifully through the leaves. But the traveler does not see any of this. They are staring down at a crumpled map, terrified of losing their way, obsessing over the destination they must reach before nightfall. They walk for miles, exhausted and anxious, entirely missing the forest because they are entirely consumed by the map. We are that traveler. We stare at the maps of our careers, our financial plans, and our 5-year goals. We walk right past the quiet beauty of a morning cup of coffee. We ignore the sound of the rain against the window. We fail to truly look at the faces of the people sitting across from us at the dinner table. We are so terrified of failing the map that we forget to experience the forest. We forget that the destination is an idea, but the forest is real. Think about your own life. How much of your existence have you missed because you were waiting for it to finally begin? What are you failing to see right now because your eyes are locked on a future that has not arrived? Pause. Breathe. Return to the room you are in. Feel the temperature of the air. Notice the light casting shadows on the wall. Listen to the silence beneath the noise. Let the feeling of being present rise without needing it to be spectacular. You do not need an extraordinary life to find meaning. You only need to pay attention. Stop trying to force the grand narrative. Do your part, then release the outcome. Because meaning is not something you achieve, it is something you notice. But learning to look up from the map requires a deep, quiet surrender. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. Dropping the map and watching the river. What if the harder you try to steer your life, the more exhausted you become? Here is the truth few people want to face. Control is the most exhausting illusion we carry. You spend your days desperately trying to manage everything around you. You try to control the exact timing of your career, the feelings of those you love, and the way the world perceives you. When a plan falls apart, or a person leaves, or a goal is delayed, you feel a deep, suffocating panic. You immediately blame yourself. You believe that if you had just paddled a little harder, planned a little better, or been a little more vigilant, you could have forced everything to stay perfectly in place. You are exhausted because you are trying to manage the entire universe from your own shoulders. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the wisdom of letting go of control. Buddhism reminds us that the world is in constant motion, and trying to force reality to stay still is like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Suffering arises when we demand that life follow the rigid lines we drew in our minds, instead of accepting the fluid, changing nature of what actually is. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to force the world to obey. Imagine a traveler in a small boat, floating down a massive, powerful river. They are holding a map that demands they travel in a perfectly straight line. But the river has its own shape. It bends around ancient mountains, it narrows through quiet valleys, and it rushes over unseen rocks. The traveler drops their head and furiously paddles against the current. They exhaust their arms, they curse the water, they fight every natural turn of the tide. They are so terrified of going off course that they never once look up to see the majestic landscape passing by. They spend the entire journey at war with the water. We are that traveler. We paddle frantically against the currents of our own lives. When a relationship does not work out, when we are ignored for a promotion, when we suddenly feel lost and entirely off track, we fight the water. We compare our journey to the map we drew 10 years ago, completely ignoring the fact that the map is a rigid idea, but life is a living, breathing force. We spend so much energy trying to force life back onto a straight line that we miss the strange, unexpected beauty of where the river is actually taking us. Think about your own life. What are you still trying to force? What outcome are you gripping so tightly that you are losing your peace? What are you afraid will happen if you finally stop fighting the current? Pause, breathe, stop trying to force the river to bend to your will. Observe your desperate need for control and simply let it be there without acting on it. Do your part, then release the outcome. You can put the map down. You are allowed to let the boat turn, because true peace is not found by conquering the river. It is found by dropping the oars and trusting the water. But surrendering control means you must finally look at the internal landscape you have been running from. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Reclaiming your inner landscape. What if the quietness you have been avoiding all your life is the only place where your true self can finally breathe? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are absolutely terrified of our own silence. When you finally stop chasing the phantom of who you were supposed to be, and you finally drop the oars and stop fighting the river, you are left with something deeply unsettling. You are left with just yourself. For many of us, this is a terrifying realization. You have spent years filling every empty space in your day with noise, tasks, and distractions. You avoid spending a single evening alone without a screen, a podcast, or a project to complete. You do this because when the noise stops, the silence feels heavy. You feel a profound disconnection because you have spent so much time building an external identity that you have entirely abandoned your inner world. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true refuge is never found in the outside world. It is found within. In Buddhist thought, the mind is often compared to a vast sky, naturally clear and open, but we fill it with endless clouds of anxiety, planning, and distraction. Buddhism reminds us that peace is not achieved by escaping our minds, but by gently returning to them. The practice of sitting in stillness is not about turning off your thoughts. It is simply the radical act of coming home to a house you have neglected for years. Imagine a beautiful, quiet house, surrounded by an ancient garden. The person who owns this house was convinced that their worth depended on building castles in distant lands. So, they left. They locked the doors and traveled far away, exhausting themselves for years, trying to construct magnificent monuments for the rest of the world to admire. Decades later, they return exhausted. The garden is overgrown with weeds. The windows are thick with dust. The rooms are dark and cold. They are afraid to step inside because the neglect feels too overwhelming. They feel they have ruined their home, when in reality, it just needs to be lived in again. We treat our own inner lives like this abandoned house. We spend all our energy investing in our external avatars. We obsess over our job titles, our public image, and the way we are perceived by people we do not even know. We build grand castles at work and on social media, but inside we feel hollow. We drown out our own thoughts by constantly scrolling, terrified to look at the overgrown garden of our own minds. We look inward and feel shame for the mess we find, forgetting that the foundation is still incredibly strong, the soil is still rich, the house is still yours. Think about your own life. When was the last time you sat in complete silence, without trying to fix something, plan something, or distract yourself? What are you afraid you will find if you finally unlock the door to your own mind? You do not need to clean the entire house today. Sit for just 1 minute in quietness. Observe the overgrown weeds, the anxious thoughts, the forgotten dreams, the quiet fears, without condemning them. Let the feeling of emptiness rise without immediately rushing to fill it with noise. You are allowed to simply be there. You do not need to rebuild yourself. You only need to clear the dust and gently tend to what is already present. Because reclaiming your inner landscape is not about achieving spiritual perfection. It is about extending grace to the neglected parts of your soul. But before you can truly inhabit this space in peace, you must make peace with the ghost that used to live there. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Forgiving the person you did not become. What if the heaviest burden you carry is not the expectations of the world, but the quiet resentment you hold against yourself? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are our own most merciless judges. You look back at your past with a harsh, unforgiving eye. You remember the missed opportunities, the wrong turns, the moments you failed to speak up, the investments of time and love that yielded nothing. You blame younger versions of yourself for not being wiser, stronger, or more disciplined. You hold a silent, bitter grudge, believing that your current pain is a direct punishment for your past mistakes. You treat your own history as a trial where you are always the guilty party. You refuse to forgive yourself for failing to build the life you once promised you would have. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound importance of compassion, but it reminds us that compassion must begin within. The practice of loving kindness is not just a gift we offer to others, it is the medicine we must give to ourselves. In Buddhist thought, the self who made those past decisions no longer exists. You are holding a grudge against a ghost. We suffer because we cling to the illusion that the past could have somehow been different. True liberation happens when we stop demanding that our history change and start extending grace to the person who did the best they could, with the awareness they had at the time. Imagine a beautiful, strong tree standing in the middle of a vast field. One year, there is a terrible, unrelenting drought. The soil cracks. The tree does not produce fruit. Its leaves wither, and some of its branches break under the harsh winds. Years later, when the rain has finally returned and the soil is rich again, the tree does not look back at that dry season and condemn itself. It does not hate its broken branches. It does not apologize for surviving instead of thriving. It understands that the drought was real, the thirst was real, and simply standing through the storm was enough. It just absorbs the rain today and allows new leaves to grow. We are far less kind to ourselves than the tree. We look back at our seasons of drought when we were overwhelmed, confused, surviving a broken heart, or navigating a profound loss, and we judge ourselves for not blooming. We condemn our younger selves for staying too long in the wrong job, trusting the wrong person, or giving up on a dream. We demand perfection from a version of ourselves who was just trying to keep their head above water. We use the clarity of hindsight as a weapon to punish the confusion of our past. Think about your own life. Who are you still punishing? What past decision are you still using to deny yourself peace in this very moment? Are you still demanding that your younger self be perfect when they were only just learning how to survive? Pause. Breathe. You do not need to carry this anger anymore. Look at the ghost of your past self and gently tell them, I forgive you for not knowing everything. I release you from the burden of my disappointment. Let the heavy resentment rise, and then let it fall to the ground. Stop trying to edit a story that has already been written. Do your part. Then release the outcome, because true peace is not found by fixing the past or finally punishing yourself enough to earn redemption. It is found by dropping the weapon you are holding against yourself. But once you finally forgive the person you failed to become, you are left with a quiet, beautiful, empty space. And this is where the final truth begins. 8. Coming home to who you already are. What if the life you have right now, with all its quiet, unresolved pieces, is not a waiting room, but exactly where you are meant to be? In the beginning, we spoke about that quiet, heavy shadow standing beside you, the phantom of the person you were supposed to become, the ghost that made you feel disconnected, anxious, and deeply exhausted. For so long, you believed that the pain of feeling behind was a sign that you had failed. You thought your endless striving meant you were falling short. But here is the final truth. That pain was not a punishment, it was an awakening. The disconnection you felt was not a failure of your ambition. It was the heavy, exhausted realization that you could no longer sustain a false identity. It was your own mind, finally breaking under the weight of an impossible illusion, gently begging you to stop running. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that the end of suffering begins the moment we stop fighting reality. When we finally release our iron grip on the future, we do not fall into nothingness. We simply land, softly, in the present moment. Non-attachment is not about losing everything you care about. It is about realizing that you never needed to rigidly possess those things to be entirely whole. You do not need to sculpt the perfect ice statue. You do not need to chase a shimmering mirage in the desert. You do not need to paddle fiercely against the natural flow of the river. or stare endlessly at a map that leads to nowhere. When you let go of the relentless need to constantly achieve, you do not become empty. You become free. You finally make space for the sacredness of ordinary attention. You find profound meaning in the way the morning light enters a room, the warmth of a cup of tea, the quiet conversation with a friend, and the peaceful silence of your own inner landscape. You realize that the meaning of your life was never going to be found in a grand final arrival. It was always waiting for you here, in the gentle rhythm of simply existing. Think about the immense freedom of this truth. You are not behind. You are not running late for your own life. You are a living, breathing human being, standing on the earth in this exact moment. And that alone is a miracle. You no longer have to measure your worth by your output. You no longer have to apologize for the person you did not become. You can finally just be the person you already are. Pause, breathe, look around you. The heavy shadow is gone. The phantom has faded. The war you have been fighting against yourself is finally over. You do not need to prove your existence to anyone anymore. Do your part, then quietly release the outcome. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.